everyone, welcome to Gosport Railworks. My name's James and today we're doing another monthly product showcase video, and today we've got 3 steam engines today. So we've got one LSWR engine, one LBSCR engine and one SECR engine. All of them I need to complete at some point, but we'll start with the biggest one, which is the Drummond T14, which is his most successful 460 engine, and yeah, it turned out quite nice. Very happy with it. I still need to sort out a few bits, as you can see. This is actually a still prototype loco body. I have altered it slightly since I finished it, but still it showcases it quite nicely. Very happy with it. Also explain how to get the 8-wheel tender for it as well. So let's go on to the Brighton engine, which is a LBSCR E4, a 062 engine, which is running on the Sonic 5600 chassis, which I still need to finish off as well. As you can see, it needs a lot of metalwork underneath done, but it does run, surprisingly. But yeah, it still needs to be lowered down, as you can see, and maybe a little bit lopped off at the front. And finally, we got my SECR H-Class, which has got, surprisingly enough, this is a Faris 6400 chassis, which I've altered to be a 044 rearrangement, which I will go into how to sort that out later on as well. Yeah, figured I'd do 3 steam engines from each of the constituent companies for the Southern Railway. So I've got LSWR, LBSCR and SECR today. So yeah, let me bring them onto the onto my table, and I'll tell you a bit more about how to put the put the engines together. Hopefully, put them together anyway. This one's still a work in progress. So yeah. Anyway, see you in a bit. Right, here we are with all 3 locos now on my table, and I'll just go through each one just to let you know how to put them all together. So we'll start from the easiest to the hardest one to put together. So let me just get the 2 tank engines out of the way, because surprisingly enough, the tender engine is actually the easiest one to put together. So let me just get the bodies off. I have already DCC'd it because, well, there's a socket, and I'll just decide to put it in. But this is a Faris 5MT loco chassis. So we have had to do a little bit of work. Let me get something to point with. It's always useful to get something to point with. Right. This one is on camera. Need more light. Maybe works. Right. So I can see what I'm doing. Most of the work on the actual loco chassis end is just removing material away from the cylinder block, because you need to put the cylinder block in between this bit, so it looks like it's part of the cylinder on the actual model. So I just need to slowly cut away a bit on both sides, so it just fits. Let me just get it back there. So if it just fits quite a bit nicely. Then most of the other work is this removing a little bit of material here on these little supports here. There's also meant to be a support holding up this part of the valve gear. Just remove that completely. It just pulls out, and I've probably got it somewhere. No, I binned it. Never mind. Yeah, you just pull it out, and then you just do with it whatever you feel like. And yeah, just cut down a bit of material from the top of here. And that's pretty much it, really. Probably smooth out this part here, where there's a squared off part of the chassis, because on the 5MT, this is where the firebox will be. On the T14, it's got a smoothed off firebox, so it might be a bit better to smooth it off as well, depending if it actually goes down that far. I'm still trying to make it go a bit more further down. Onto the tender. This tender is actually a tender from the what's it called? The War Department Austerity 280 engine. Also the 8F, that was it. This one specifically from the LMR version. Not any particular reason. It's just because I could find it on the Bachmann Spares website. So yeah, the only thing which you need to do with this is basically cut off the sides. So you just need to carefully remove the side parts, just so it exposes the wheels a bit more, and it just looks like a I think it was a Drummond 8-wheel tender, especially when you got the axle tender body on. And then you just stick in the electrics and just solder them all together, and it pretty much fits together quite nicely because it uses the same fittings as the 5MT on the bottom here. Make sure it's on camera. Just notice it's probably not. So yeah, let's quickly go over it again, just because just to make sure. So remove this, remove the material away from the cylinders, just to narrow them down. Not all the way, just about halfway down, so that the metal's still inside the cylinder block. Remove the support here. Cut away some of the material from the support here. File this down so it's a bit more smooth. Replace the tender with the 8-wheel one. Remove the sides of the tender chassis, and then wire it all together. And that's pretty much it, really. So I'll pop you carefully over here. Also mention this is actually a prototype version of the loco body, because I'm still trying to get this part right, because since the valve gear has to actually pass through into this area, yeah, it's a bit awkward, so I need to make this part thinner and the other side thicker, just to make sure it all supports itself. Yeah, it's a very awkward thing, and I may recommend replacing these footsteps with something a bit thinner. Anyway, that's pretty much that of it. Oh, and when you have got it all together, and also painted, and obviously transfers and all the other things, you do make sure that the valve gear goes in up into this area, because otherwise it won't work. So yeah, pop you over there. Next one on the list is the E4. So this is a, what's it called? The Sonic 5600 chassis, and for the most part, you don't have to do too much. Well, first thing I would recommend is unscrewing the electrics from the actual weight part of the chassis. Obviously, so you unscrew these two screws here, those two screws down there, and there's also a screw underneath the circuit board here. And that allows you to access the main weight of the chassis. And then you just file down, well, I say file down, grind down as much as you can, cut off the back where there's meant to be a weight here. You cut that completely off. So an easy way to tell how much you need to cut off is that there's a little indent here. I think part of the body goes underneath there, but yeah, you just completely cut off as much as you can over here. A little bit underneath the PCB just to give it some support. Add a little bit of plastic card underneath here just for the rear pony wheels, the smaller wheels, just so that the spring has something easy to push up against. So pop you back in there. And with the weight free and the PCB and motor elsewhere, you can now just grind away at it and remove as much material as you can. Focus mostly on this bit here. Remove as much material from this bit here. I still need to do more there, and also on this side as well, because it needs to fit between the two sides of the tank, and also where it juts out here for the cab. Otherwise it's too wide and it will not fit. May need to do a bit of work on the top, but I haven't quite got that far, so I'll let you know eventually. And excuse me. And you do also need to move this coupling inwards, preferably get a pen. Roughly about, let me just match this up. All right, the end of the body goes about there. So you need the coupling to be about here. Yeah, you need to move it about 5mm inwards, to say the least. And yeah, definitely grind the sides just so that basically make it as thin as possible. Well, not as thin as possible, as thin as needed. So it can fit nicely between the two tanks, and also maybe remove a bit off the front, which I found out yesterday after removing a lot. So yeah, still going to be quite hefty, and you will still have enough space inside the body to add some extra replacement weight. But yeah, that's most of the work you need to do. The body, you just paint it and transfers and the usual. So eventually I'll get around to doing that. Right, on to the SECR heats class, which is a lot more work. So you buy the chassis from, what was it, Bachmann Spares website. You can buy a complete, well, I say complete, basically the two chassis bits and, well, pretty much a nearly complete chassis from Bachmann Spares for about 50 quid. And first of all, you remove one of the wheels, because you don't need that. Haven't quite decided which way around it should go. At the moment, I'm running it in reverse because I want the motor to be roughly where the cab is, or at least between the two tanks. This means I need to move it forward. So, as you can see there, the rear wheels for the pony truck. This is off an M7, the old one, because it still works perfectly fine. It's actually upside down at the moment, and it's held in with a nylon bolt and nut, because it's actually going through where the screw would go through for the body for the 6400. It's the 6400 class chassis. The cover for the worm gear actually goes into the boiler at the front here. That's how far forward it needs to go. Actually, I had to make more space to put that in there. And for the make it so that the rear wheels are more free, you will have to remove the screw and basically cut out as much material as you can dare, and also file down the hole on the other side of these wheels just to make it a bit more level with the drive wheels. And obviously remove part of the front and then work out where to put the coupling for the front. I've yet to work out that one because you need to remove this screw as well. So this one may be held together with glue in places at least. This one's still experimental because if this works, then it may work for smaller 044s. Yes. This screw stays. That doesn't have to screw. That screw stays, and the screw behind the drive wheel stays. It's mostly this body screw here, well, this main chassis screw here, and this one at the front here holding the keeper plate on. So the keeper plate may be held on with a bit of glue. Yes. I say this is quite experimental, this one. I have seen, well, I'm sure I've seen somebody use a Faris 6400 to make a 044, but I can't remember where I found it, and yes. But otherwise, use a M7 if you want to, and then just shorten it if you don't want to do it this way. And that is pretty much it for all three of these engines. Let me just pop this back together. But, yeah. In the end, I may also try just doing it with the M7 as well, because I got my what's it, my what's it called now, my LSWR 02 to redo as well. So I'll see which one works and then put that in my recommended chassis for both listings, because at the moment I put them as to be determined. So yes, we've got 2 new tank engines and a tender engine. So yes, that's pretty much how you put them together. And yeah, I'm going to talk about each of the prototypes. Well, talk about the prototypes for each one and show them on the turntable for a bit of a close-up, and then we can get them back onto my layout and try and get one of them running. Probably this one, because it's well, it's DCC'd and I don't have to mess around with controllers. So that will be running. It's a bit flaky running, but it may just be my wiring or the track's dirty again. Yes. Anyway, see you in a bit. The London Brighton South Coast Railway E4 class is a class of 062 side tank steam locomotive designed by Robert Billington. The E4 class of radial tanks were powerful for their size and were stewards of local passenger, freight and branch work for more than 50 years. They were very similar to the E3 tank engines from 1891, but the key differences were that the driving wheels were enlarged from 4 foot 6 inches to 5 foot, and the boiler press was increased to 160 pounds. 75 members of the class were built by Brighton Works between December 1897 and September 1903. All of the class survived to enter Southern Railway ownership in 1923. One example, number 2483, was severely damaged as a result of enemy action against Eastbourne Motive Power Depot in 1942 during a Luftwaffe air raid, although it was scrapped 2 years later in July 1944. Later in British Railways days, several examples have found new jobs as station pilots, most famously at London Waterloo, where they brought empty carriage rakes into the station from yards at Clapham Junction. They were also used on services such as the locally famous Lancing Bell, which ran from Brighton to Lancing Carriage Works of the London Brighton South Coast Railway, often double-headed with members of the same class or the larger E6 class. Most of the class were drawn between 1958 and 1964. However, one of the last survivors in 1963 was number 32473. This was purchased by a group of preservationists and brought to the Bluebell Railway in East Sussex, where it has remained ever since, except for visits to other lines such as the Severn Valley Railway and Isle of Wight Steam Railway. The LSWR T14 class was a class of 10 460 locomotives designed by Drummond for express passenger use on the London South Western Railway and constructed at Eastleigh in 1911 to 1912. Drummond's success with his previous 440 designs created a new problem. His new and robust designs allowed the timetables to be accelerated, and it soon became clear that passenger locomotives with greater power were needed. This was especially true when the LSWR's passenger requirements were increasing with lengthened, heavier rolling stock that needed to keep up with faster point-to-point schedules. Despite his track record, Drummond decided to return to the 460 rail arrangement. This was because such a design had proven on other railways, such as Grand Central, and the additional traction provided by the extra pair of driving wheels was useful in starting heavy trains. However, despite a definite improvement in performance over his previous 460 designs, the class was still plagued by heavy coal and water consumption, combined with a serious mechanical problem of hot axle boxes, which had also afflicted all his previous 460s. The T14s were the most successful of Drummond's otherwise failed 460 designs for the LSWR, though they still displayed the old costly liabilities of heavy coal and water consumption on a railway that did not employ water troughs, which combined with the high frequency of hot axle boxes increasing maintenance costs. Both were issues with all of its previous 460s and made them unpopular to locomotive crews. The first withdrawal took place in 1940 when 458 suffered air raid damage at Nine Elm Shed. The remainder continued into public ownership in 1948, however the remainder continued to be withdrawn from November of that year, and the last one surviving until June 1951. As a result, none were preserved. The South Eastern Chatham Railway H-Class is a class of 044 tank steam locomotive originally designed for suburban passenger work, designed by Harry Wainwright in 1904. Most of the 66 members of the class were later equipped for push-pull working for use on rural branch lines. The first 7 locomotives were built by Ashford Works between November and December 1904. The design was soon found to be successful, and so 64 more engines were built at Ashford between 1904 and 1909. Following Wainwright's retirement, Richard Maunsell discovered that 66 had been ordered and their components built, but only the 64 constructed. Therefore, a further 2 were constructed in 1915. The majority of the class replaced Q-class locomotives on the London suburban services of the South Eastern Railway and remained on these duties until after they entered Southern Railway stock in 1923. They began to be displaced by the electrification of these lines in 1925, when they began to be used on stopping trains further afield in the eastern section of the Southern Railway in Kent. After 1929, they also began to be used on the central section in East Sussex, where they replaced the withdrawn D3-class locomotives. 2 members of the class were withdrawn during the Second World War, but the remaining 64 entered British Railway stock in 1948. 45 of the survivors were equipped for push-pull train working between 1949 and 1960. And the class was increasingly used on motor trains on rural branch lines. With the completion of the Kent electrification scheme between 1959 and 1962, most of the surviving members of the class were withdrawn, except for a few examples working the non-electrified lines between Tunbridge Wells and Three Bridges. The final member of the class, SECR number 263, was withdrawn from Three Bridges on the 4th of January 1964. It was returned to service on the 28th of July 1912 and is currently preserved at the Bluebell Railway. Right, and that's all 3 of them all done. Well, not all built, but I've at least told you a bit about each of the prototypes and told you roughly how to put them all together, though I still need to do it myself. But yeah, they're coming along nicely, and I'm happy to have another 460 Southern engine to add to my fleet. And obviously I do like the other 2 as well, but yeah, that's the main one I've been working on. But yeah, we'll run round layout. However, I will have to take the body off the T14 because it's still the way the valve gear has to work. It it doesn't quite work fully yet. Well, at least with the body on. But yeah, do let me know what you think about all 3 of them. Do you like them? Do you not like them? I know not everyone's keen on the T14, but I had a soft spot for it, so yeah, I made it. And I do intend to build the paddle box on the side eventually, so that you can at least have a couple of versions of the T14 at some point. But yeah, I'm very happy with them. But yeah, like I said, if you like them, if you don't like them, or if you don't like them, feel free to let me know down below. But that's going to be it for me. So if you like it, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, well, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. But yeah, we'll go have a break now. Anyway, let's get the T14 chassis at least on the way. Yeah, Mom, you'll work in a minute, guy. What is wrong with that? Oh, that's why. Wrong number. There we go. So it does work, I just got it on the wrong setting. Anyway. It is going. Anyway, take care everyone. See you all again next time. Bye bye. There it goes.